But today's a special day. We would like to welcome everyone into the 2013 True Amateur Tournaments. It's the Summer Classic, Thursday qualifying. It's the 4th of July, Jeff.
Yes, it is. I almost forgot earlier.
Happy Independence Day.
I made sure I got my Happy Independence Day post up on Facebook already this morning from lovely Las Vegas. But, yeah, I was talking to some friends back home, and everybody's talking about being around the pool and everything else today. I'm thinking, why aren't you guys at work? Oh, that's right. They have a holiday, but yet here you and I are working. So
we are working
having
today.
A little fun.
You know, and it's days like this that, you know, really puts life in perspective for me with just being able to come out here and do this. And last night I learned some tragic news that Kathy Penner's son, Tyler Penner, Kathy used to be married to Randy Lightfoot, was struck and killed by a vehicle last night in St. Charles. He was 17 years old, and just want to send out condolences to the Penner family from back home in the St. Louis area. Randy and everyone, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
I second that. I actually saw something about that last night, but I didn't know who that was. So
yeah, Dennis Hacker actually was the one that alerted me of it last night, our good buddy Dennis. And you know, it is days like this where, you know, our troops and our soldiers and all the people that risk their lives for our country, we have a chance to celebrate our independence today. So, yeah,
this is always it's always been a pretty special weekend, especially for those of you out there that do support the troops and our military and everything else, and all the men and women that are fighting for our freedom. And you know, they allow us to do what we love to do, whether it be bowling, broadcasting, coaching, whatever. You know, without them, you know, we don't have anything. So thank you to all of our men and women out there serving in the military. We appreciate everything you do, and happy Independence Day to everybody.
Absolutely. And Jeff, you're a baseball fan.
Absolutely.
And I got a little surprise for you here this morning. I figured in honor of Independence Day, it's not too often we get to work holidays, that I would do something a little special here this morning for you and for everybody that's watching. So while the players are practicing, I've got a special video queued up here to get us in the mood for this.
Can't wait for this.
4th of July, Independence Day. We'll be right back after this very special tribute.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave
Ladies and gentlemen,
So there you have it, Jeff. A little tribute there.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Sometimes when you download stuff on YouTube, you never know what you're going to get, but took a risk there. But, man, it just gives you chills checking out that stuff, even though it was the Yankees.
I remember that. That was a pretty awesome rendition of the song, and I remember that one live. There wasn't a dry eye in the building.
Oh, no, yeah. So getting it going here this morning. A little baseball reference there, and take you out to the lanes. Got a little split screen going on here for you. We got some bowlers practicing.
Now, the bowlers have already been out there once this morning. They had a chant squad this morning, I believe. It started at 9 o'clock, and they were full. They had over 160 bowlers.
That's awesome.
Bowling on the chant squad. So a lot of these guys are already in their second round of the day. This is the first qualifying squad of today, first of 3. So we'll have qualifying squads today at 11, which is on the floor now, then at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. And then as a reminder, tonight we have the Storm Challenge at 6 o'clock. So make sure you join us for that. That's a special event, special format, unique. Be a lot of fun. You'll be down there kind of emceeing it. I'll be up here in the booth making fun of you.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that'll be really good. I'll tell you what, I was telling Roger last night. I spent a little bit of time with Roger, and he was asking me how things were going over here, and I really couldn't say that it was going any better than it really was, because it's just been going so great. And I was telling him how I enjoy working with you, because I think you give me the most trouble out of everybody that I've ever worked with.
Somebody has to.
That's right.
I don't want your head to swell.
I love it because, like, you're so hot and cold too. You'll like call me the fearless leader, and you'll give me all these compliments, and then rip on my bowling game just a few minutes later. I love it.
I'm just showing off my versatility.
That's right. That's right. This guy can play the gutter with the best of them.
Not on this pattern.
What I do here? I got the same guys up on both things. What is wrong with me today?
I think you got too much sleep last night.
Now we're firing. Brad Edelman said he was going to come by and join us early this morning, so he'll be taking the middle seat here in a little bit. And hey, I want to thank everybody who's already watching here today. We know that you have choices on what you can do here on this 4th of July, and coming in and being part of this is great. It's really starting to heat up around here. Our squads are fuller and fuller as we get closer to the weekend. We're going to be crowning a $20,000 champion of this event Saturday night. We'll have the live finals for you Saturday evening.
Not only that, but it's 103 degrees outside before noon, so it's definitely heating up.
That is for sure.
It's definitely been interesting the last few days to watch the different age groups, the different average groups crossing together, on this pattern, this 37-foot high roller pattern, to see how different attack angles, and then watching some guys that will bowl a morning squad, then come back and maybe bowl the late afternoon squad, and to see the differences on how they're playing the lanes, how they're scoring. We talked to a couple of guys yesterday afternoon that actually bowled really well, and they bowled the early squads, kind of got a little bit of information for the day, watched the middle squad, and then came back and bowled the afternoon squad, bowled really well. Last night we had our first 300 bonus. Gentleman bowled 300 with the Marvel Pearl, wearing a Storm patch, so he received the $300 bonus for that. But a lot of that was because he had bowled already that, once in the morning, gained some valuable information, and had a pretty good idea what he wanted to do. So.
Captured a pretty cool 300 game yesterday, as you mentioned. If I get a chance here, a little bit later, I'll grab it and throw it out on YouTube for everybody to watch. As we solidified your name yesterday as the Lord King Ruler
of all.
Of all. I got to remember that, of all. It was actually quite hilarious because Kloempken or Coach K, sorry,
Coach K, yes.
wouldn't let it go. It was awesome.
Well,
Lord King, ruler of them all.
that's the best part about this is we can sit up here and have fun, joke around, talk a little baseball, talk movies, talk whatever. The last thing that I'm sure everybody out there wants to do is just talk, bowling for 7 or 8 hours a day. Let's mix it up a little bit, enjoy it, still call plenty of action, talk some technical stuff. It was nice to have Steve in the booth yesterday. We talked about bowling ball design, how we come up with the balls that we design, the colors, the scents, the names, so on and so forth. So a little bit of inside information on the inner workings of Storm Bowling Products. So for those of you that are joining us, we are broadcasting live from the Orleans Hotel Casino in beautiful Las Vegas for the 2013 TAT Summer Classic, put together by Brad Edelman and his wonderful staff. And special thanks to Mr. Kaufman and his staff here at the Orleans for being tremendous hosts. Everybody here all week so far is taking great care of us. Anything we've needed, they've gone out of their way to help us. So we thank everybody involved in this event, especially Storm Bowling Products for being the sponsor. So not only do we get to spend our days and evenings working for a great company, they put a lot of money and effort into sponsoring events like this and allowing us to come up here and bring it to you guys at home live. So
yeah, if it wasn't for Storm, Jeff wouldn't be here, and nor would I, because Storm has allowed us to come out here and put us up in the room and shipped all our stuff out here. And it's been a long couple of weeks, and there's still a few days to go, but I love doing this live streaming and love bringing more awareness to bowling and promoting great events like this one and Bowl Expo and the ABT and the Proprietors Cup next week. So just a lot of live streaming going on.
Well, I think that this side of the business fits your new job description pretty well with the new marketing director at Storm Bowling Products, to where we can get out and we can actually show bowling. For years the only outlet that people had to watch bowling was on ABC or ESPN for when the PBA was on the telecast. And then when Extra Frame came around, that was another service that the PBA provided to watch some bowling. But other than that, there really wasn't much to be able to go and watch and see some of the great bowlers from around the country that maybe aren't in the professional ranks. Well, with broadcasting of the IB Open and the Boot Hill and the Proprietors Cup last year and our event in Springfield with the Mary Tubner Memorial Team Challenge, you're able to watch a lot of the better amateur players from around the country. And more importantly, it just gives people that are bowling fans something to watch. They're not just locked into watching the telecast on Sunday from the PBA Tour. So,
yeah, one of my favorite comments. A lot of people, just discovering inside bowling, and people come across these videos just by mistake. And somebody said about the Mary Tubner last year. Wow, how have I never come across these videos in the past? Because in that final position round, Baker 2 games, it was, Mike Fagan, Casey Murphy, Chris Hester, Chris Sand, Anthony Lacaze, Pete Weber, Rick Coy, Camden Rokita, and Corey Kistner all in the final match. I mean, it's awesome. People really like it.
And then we did the IB Open earlier this year, and you had an incredible field of some current professionals as well as former professionals. Some guys that I hadn't seen in years showed up and bowl. I remember when I walked in the bowling center that afternoon, the very first person I saw was Kenny McNeely, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years.
Very nice guy, too. Talked to him on the phone. He called me a couple times before that event, just making sure, what was going on. He drove all the way in from the Carolinas.
Yep. And, there were people there for the IB Open from California, New York. I mean, they were from all over. So you put together some pretty solid events, get the bowlers there, and then be able to broadcast it live. That's more than anybody could ask for.
Yeah, and the TV finals too was really a hoot to be a part of that. That was an undertaking we had never done before, but we pulled it off, and there's a decent version of it out there.
I actually got to sit behind the bowlers for that event and do a little ball repping for Brad Miller, and helped Craig Niederfer out a little bit here and there, and Rob Gottschall. So it was nice to have that opportunity to help some great amateur players along the way if they needed it. So
take you over to 11 and 12 as we glance around. This guy here looks like a young guy. It's interesting to see all the different shapes and sizes and styles of all the bowlers across the country.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes to show that bowling is really limitless as far as who can play the sport. We have, I'm sure we have age ranges here from, say, 16, 17, all the way up into, for instance, we had some guys in front of us yesterday that were in their 70s. We've got skill ranges that, I'm sure are from the 150s, 160s, all the way up to, the scratch bowler here. So.
Also, in regards to the chat as well, I've had a couple of people comment, how do we get into the chat? Because the chat appears to be full. Well, we have 2 different chats on our website, and if you're on our website down below, you'll see that there's 25 people here on the site, and there's a general chat and everything down there. But the best place to go is on the insidebowling.tv page, or the insidebowling.com/videos/IBTV live page. And when you start watching the live stream, there's a chat that appears over to the right next to the video feed, and that's the chat that we're always in on. And sometimes people don't realize that. And already in the chat, we've got Champion Bowler in here, having some fun in the chat. C-Dub in the club here. Brad High Roller is hanging out. He's going to be joining us in a little bit. Bowler's Paradigm and DB, and of course our good friend John Brocklin, Old School, is in the chat saying happy 4th from St. Louis. We appreciate that, John. And John, I did get your emails, and I will get back to you about that. And I'll come up with a day that's good for a little shindig going away deal. We'll be able to figure that one out. As I look at a calendar here, John, if you want to do a little work on this while I multitask, I get back on Monday, but then I drive to Ohio early Friday morning on the 12th. And then the following weekend is that the U.S. Open?
U.S. Open starts the 20th.
Okay, so the next weekend is my niece's wedding. So maybe Sunday the 21st would work, John? But then the following weekend, or Sunday the 28th would work as well. So it would probably have to be Sundays because I'm out of town on the 19th. I'm out of town on the 26th. So, those wouldn't work. So it's going to have to be a Sunday, the 21st or the 28th, it looks like, unless we do like midweek. So I'll give you a little idea on that one. DB's got a friend here on 11 and 12 in the orange T-shirt here. And D. Johnson says that Kevin here is rocking a pretty sweet shirt.
Looks like another custom jersey design from one of the many companies out there that are doing jersey designs. I know there's several of them out there. For instance, I use Boom Apparel. It's a company out of Atlanta. They're doing a lot of my stuff now. We'll have a new signature line of jerseys coming soon that are based off of my Eddie Van Halen guitar design jerseys that I wore while I was on tour, and even the ones that we sold for years in the Storm Shop. So I'll have those coming out soon.
You got a pretty sweet jacket, too.
I do. They did that jacket for me, and they do a great job. They're working with me for doing some stuff for my charity, Bowl Strong, and I really enjoy working with them. They're good people. They're bowlers, and they do a lot of things for Jason Sterner and some other people. So feel free to go check them out on Facebook. It's Boom Apparel, and they're based out of Atlanta. Competitively priced. Their design process is quick and easy, and I like dealing with them. So
Nice guys. They reached out to me a couple times as well. Looking around here, taking a gander, and scores look pretty high this morning.
they do look a little bit higher than yesterday morning on the fresh. You never know what's going to happen, once you continually strip and re-oil lanes. But, another factor is, a lot of these guys have already bowled at least one squad. So they've got a little bit more experience under their belt. Something that Brian Burkhardt, our good friend, thinks is very, very important is to have good experience under your belt. I think he told you that the other day. So
he did. Eventually I'll get, with some experience, I'll get this live streaming down.
That you can't underestimate being able to get some games under your belt on a particular pattern. So, there's a way that you can enter this event. It's called the marathon entry. And with the marathon entry for $895, you get 2 storm balls, 1 high performance, 1 polyester, 5 qualifying squads over the, I believe it's 4 days of qualifying.
Yeah, 4 days.
4 days of qualifying. And then you get 5 chance squads, which are the morning squads. And then you get to an entry into the Storm Challenge finals. And then I think that gets you either money to go. It's hard to understand sometimes on the entry link. Maybe Brad can chime in.
Yeah, there's so many
explain that, but
different
there's
ways.
so many different ways to do it. But I really like the marathon entry package because they run brackets for each squad. There's Buddy's mystery pot for each squad. There's ways that you can make money on each qualifying squad. So get out there, bowl as many times as you can. Lock yourself into a spot for the finals, and then just continue to take those chances and learn as you go. The more experience you can gain, the better off you're going to be.
We're watching lanes 17 and 18 and 23 and 24 here from the Orleans Casino Hotel and Bowling Center. Jeff Carter, Mike Flanagan here with you early in game number 1 of our 11 o'clock squad. The bowlers will be bowling 3 games here today. Everything this weekend is brought to you by Storm, the Bowlers Company, a week-long event, actually.
And you've already been out here for about a month, it seems like,
yeah,
haven't you?
I've been out here about a month. Yeah. At about $200 a day is about what it takes to be out here. I have officially decided I'm going to walk home. I hear it gets cooler as I head east.
Head east, yeah.
Yeah.
You may have to carry Louie home.
Oh yeah. Louie will
just
be
drop
carried
him
home.
off in Utah.
And Louie, God love him, the guy, he was shooting video yesterday, and he's out getting that produced and put out there, and the guy's just working his tail off. As a matter of fact, I told him today, Louie, we met our video Storm guru guy, who I'm going to be working very closely with. And I even sent him a text message just a little while ago. I said he had told me he had set up the cameras and everything this morning, and I told him I loved working with him because he takes initiative. So Louie Storm 11, when you get back down here, you and I want to hug it out.
Once again, this event does feature 3 different age groups, divisions, and also different handicap divisions. We've got the 39 and under age group, the age group 40 to 54, and the 55 and over age group, as well as the 205 and under handicap division and the 189 and under handicap division. And these guys and gals are bowling for first place prize of $20,000, second place $10,000, and $5,000 for each division. And it's $500 just for making the finals. And the other thing is each daily leader receives a bonus for $250. So that's why it's important to get out here, bowl every day, have a chance to make some extra money, whether it be gambling money, so to speak, or paying for your trip or whatever it is. Gives you a lot of different options on how to make some money in an event like this. And we mentioned Buddy's Mystery Pot earlier. It's kind of interesting to hear those numbers get drawn each day. I know one day it was 263. One squad it was 250. One squad it was 178. I've only heard it hit once so far, and it was hit for about $800. I know yesterday it was up to over $1,100. I'm not sure how much it's up to now. I didn't hear him announce it before the squad, but
yeah, I don't know, but I'm thinking about getting in the tournament just for the mystery score.
nice little chunk of change.
If that thing gets up to like $2,000 or something, I'm just going to jump out of the booth, and I'm going to go into the pro shop right behind us here at K&K Bowling Services and go in and see my buddy Robbie P. and see if the old numbers from AOL, as we talked about yesterday, and see if we can't get some shoes and a ball for me. And then I'll get on a featured pair, and Jeff, you can totally dissect my game and let people know how not to bowl.
Now, if you were to go into the pro shop right now and drill a couple balls to go out of there, what would you drill?
Okay, well, because it's a little bit of a flatter pattern, I definitely wouldn't have anything with surface, just because as much as I hit up on the ball, I'd probably drill like a freaking Frantic. I saw somebody doing well with one of those. I'd probably drill a Marvel Pearl, which I saw a guy shoot 300 with yesterday. I'd probably start there. And if they had a Marvel S or a High Row Pearl in stock, I'd probably get in. If they had those two, I'd drill those two. They're the newest, latest, and greatest. If I need all the help I can get. And I'd probably try to play somewhere around 20 to like 12. Right in between the two rangefinders.
I think I'd go in there and try and drill up an IQ Tour.
Well, I thought you were just going to say I'd go in and drill a case of High Roads.
And then I'd probably drill another IQ Tour, and then maybe one other IQ Tour, and then a High Road. That would probably be my arsenal for this event. And my spare ball.
That would do it. That would do it. I think I could go out and shoot about 650 on this in 2 tries. But I don't think that would be enough to make it in. I'm going over to TrueAmateurTournaments.com right now, and I'm gonna look around here a little bit.
See over here on lanes 21 and 22, we've got a young man with the front. Well, he had the front 7, and he just went through the nose and left a 3.6. We have a few other games going on around that are 230, 240 paces. Just trying to look around some of the scores. We see a lot of scores that are kind of all over the map. Some 150s, 160s, 230s, 240s. Nothing tremendously high, but looks like the scoring pace is a little bit higher today than it was yesterday.
So on Monday, in the 39 and under qualifying division, it was Nathan McSwain bowled a 721. There were 28 entries that day, and they take 1 and 8. So Nathan McSwain, Matthew Goddard, and I believe Bryson Rogers will have made it. And Bryson shot 709. That's the way I look at that. And Nathan was the daily leader, bowled got $750 to be the daily leader. And then over on the 40 to 54 division, it was Brian Dennis. He was the daily leader with $750. He shot 767. And he advances to the finals. And then in the 55 and over division, they had 12 entries on Monday. And Andres Fernandez bowled 687. He's the daily leader, receives 750. So each daily leader in each division receives $750. And then in the looks like here in the 3 p.m. we had Jeff Leppert made it in from Columbia, South Carolina, pulled 672. And also we got Randy Lund, Tim Smith, Florian Ruslange, and Justin Einen all advanced to the finals on Monday is what it looks like. A lot of divisions, a lot of bowlers. Something I'm not used to seeing, but that's why we're here at this great event. Over 400 bowlers should be taken to the lanes this week.
You know, and that was something we've talked about a little bit over the last couple of days. Is this is definitely a different type of event than what we're used to bringing to you live. You know, we're used to, you know, the IB Open, things like that, where we're dealing with some of the best bowlers in the world. So it's a nice, refreshing change for us to be able to televise some of the bowlers out there that, you know, still are the core of the sport. They're the just under 200 average all the way down to the 120, 130 average bowlers that really make up 90% of the sport. So it's nice for them to have a chance to bowl, you know, on you know, live coverage, get a little bit of recognition, have an event to where they can get out there and showcase what they can do. It's not all about who's the best bowler in the world. Sometimes it's you know, giving everybody an opportunity. You know, everybody out here is passionate about the sport, so give them a little bit of credit for what they do for the sport as well.
Yeah, and I'm excited as we dial in the coverage later in the week. I know you got to leave us for some other commitments, but when Saturday night rolls around and we have this finals, I'm looking forward to covering these bowlers as if they were professional bowlers on ESPN, and that's going to be a lot of fun to do that.
You know, it doesn't matter if you're amateur or professional. You know, if you care, you're going to be out there trying just as hard as anybody else. And whether you're getting 10 pins a handicap or 30 pins a handicap or bowling scratch, excuse me, the end goal is still the same. Look over here on 21 and 22. Looks like we've got one gentleman going at 250 and another gentleman going at 278. So that looks like a fairly high-scoring pair. You can see that we've got the split screen up just off to the left of the right side of the screen. Actually, now Mike has switched over, so now you can see the bowling balls go down the lane on 21 and 22. That looks like a pretty high-scoring pair right now.
And on Tuesday, Jeff, as I look at TrueAmateurTournaments.com, Ted Fritz bowled 777.
We watched quite a bit of that.
And he advanced. He was the daily leader. And Dave Perushad also advanced. And we talked to him yesterday a little bit. Matt Anderson also advanced in the qualifying on Tuesday. And other qualifiers to the finals was Jürgen Fuschbauer, Pat Grogan, Kevin Enmoto, Jose Covarrubias, and Armando Viramontes. So I'm going to have some great names to cover going into Saturday. A lot of international flavor here at the True Amateur Tournaments. Marina Simon also and Henry Murphy have already advanced coming out of Tuesday's qualifying squads. And then, of course, yesterday, as you and Steve brought home most of the action, you guys commented and let me know about how wonderful Cameron Foster bowled, bowling 753. He was the daily leader. Took home $750, and also qualifying out of the under division was Greg Walters and Randy Ramil. It took 663 yesterday to make it in. George Palumbo was in that squad. He sent me a message last night wanting to know when everything would be archived, and that's going to be into next week before it's archived. But we will get that out for you. Billy Langford also advanced yesterday, Mike Bird and Gary Fox, along with Vic Meyerhoff and Scott Miles. And fellow Lewis, Craig Hosey, Kevin Enemoto, Dino Dennis, and Michael Signaggio have all advanced coming out of yesterday's squad. And then in the 189 and under qualifying standings, it was Don Quintagon who shot 669. He was the daily leader, received $750, and Rhonda Hagee, she shot 640. She advances to the finals. So a lot of bowlers in, but a lot of bowlers still vying to get in today in our qualifying squads. It's the 11 o'clock qualifying squad right now. Jeff Carter, Mike Flanagan here with you. Bowlers are switching around here, but we've still got a pair completing down here on lanes 11 and 12. 2-0, 170, possible 230, and possible 2-0 as well down here.
For those of you out there watching and hanging out in the chat with us, if you do us a favor and go on your own personal social media pages and tell your friends and share the link to the InsideBowling.com videos live TV page, we would greatly appreciate it. Let's try and get those viewer numbers up to well over 100 and maybe even push 200 by the end of the day. We'd like to see a pretty full viewership out there by the time we get going for the Storm Challenge tonight. So do us a favor, help us out in supporting the sport of bowling and bringing you live coverage of the 2013 TAT Summer Classic.
You're getting really good at this, Jeff.
Well, it's that whole experience thing that Brian keeps preaching to us. So.
You're right. Definitely right about that. Nice 234 game here if he can fill it up here in the 10th frame here. Looks like he's throwing the Roto-Grip Rector. Looks like he's got a really nice line. Very similar line to what we saw the gentleman yesterday shoot 300 late in the day. 234. Very nice start. Now action underway on our other two pairs. As you see some new bowlers shuffle in.
It's kind of refreshing to see the organization of this event on how, the squad times pretty much run consistent all day. I know when they have as many bowlers as they did this morning for the chance squad, it ran a little bit longer, only because of having, 4+ bowlers on every pair. I know it took a little bit longer and just a little bit delayed getting started with the 11 a.m. starting time, but after that, everything just seems to run like clockwork. They get the bowlers down there on time, run through all the announcements, get everybody started and going. So there's not a lot of waiting around. So the guys that do bowl multiple squads really only have about a 15-minute break in between. So in most cases, that's actually good for you.
Which also means we only have about a 15-minute break in between.
Which is why we've been begging somebody for the last 3 days to bring us In-N-Out Burger. So
I could go for some In-N-Out today for sure. It's almost like I need to just fill my body with a bunch of rigmarole garbage, flush out my my little cold here.
think the fearless leader, Brad Edelman's going to be joining us here, so we need to get him a headset or a microphone. Being joined now by the tournament organizer for not only this event, but the high roller, as well as many other great events, Brad Edelman. Brad, how are you doing today?
Morning, guys. Happy 4th to you.
Absolutely, thank you.
And to all your viewers out there, they're very sane. All these guys and girls came to play bowling this week.
Yes, they did.
This is very strange for me, I have to tell you. You know, in all of our events, I'm a worker. You know, I'm grinding out with the rest of the staff, and of course when we got involved here with the TAT, you know, we kept most of their staff on, and of course Jamie McWilliams, our tournament director, does a great job, and his staff, and of course I have a couple high roller staff members we brought over, and I have nothing to do.
That's always nice. It's good to be a chief sometimes. Just kind of walk around and make sure everything's organized well and taken care of. So.
It's weird. I brought some work from home just to keep busy. I see a lot of people I know. It's fun. I just enjoy being here.
Yeah, it's always good to have a good staff that takes care of everything and makes your job a little bit easier. So
I might even bowl a squad, Jeff. What do you think?
I'd give it a shot if I were you.
I'm looking for a sponsor. You interested?
Well, I don't know. We definitely don't want to ask Louie because Louie's probably out of money by now. He's been out in Vegas for.
I haven't seen Louie for 2 days. I'm getting a little nervous.
Oh, he's been busy.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, Brad, you said you were bored. You didn't have anything to do. I'd be more than happy to show you how all this works and how to click the cameras and everything, and then
I'd love to, Mike.
Then I can just mail it in. I can sleep under the stage.
No, we could talk about that. I played a little rock and roll music in my younger days and worked the soundboard, so I guess that actually means nothing here, though. This is all new.
So, Brad, obviously you and I have spoken a few times about live streaming. You've watched some of our broadcasts.
Yeah.
And now you've had an opportunity to see it for a few days. What do you think of our operation, and what do you think of this whole thing?
Well, your operation's the best, and I've seen them all, and I don't mind saying that.
Wow, thanks.
No, it really is. I'm not just saying it because Jeff's squeezing my arm right now.
Right.
I honestly mean that. Very good, and of course for the bowlers, it's just so great. It's just a great innovation. I'm just hoping nobody stays home so they could watch it instead of coming out here. But seriously, it's and you see the viewers that get on and they change, and I don't know if you can keep track of unique view. You probably can.
Yeah.
If you do that, but there's a lot of people around the country watching this and looking for their friends, and a lot of people who wish they were here just for whatever reason couldn't make it. Just like to see where the action is and see what's going on and just stay involved, and it's great. The technology is tremendous.
Well, if they're watching this year, you got a better chance of getting them next year.
Hope so.
I truly believe that.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's just a natural progression.
We're going to take a look. You want to know how many people have come to the site the last few days?
Yeah, it's a nice, it'd be a nice figure.
Well, we had on the 3rd of July, what was that? That was
yesterday.
Yesterday. We had almost 1,600 unique people come and watch this tournament.
That's huge, Mike. Congratulations to you, because that's you didn't start that overnight.
No, and then we had 1,300 the day before, and I would assume when we get to Saturday and we award $20,000 and we're doing this live finals broadcast, we really pump it up with social media.
Yeah.
We'll probably come in the 7,000 to 8,000 range.
Well, maybe we should have a little office pool here with an over-under.
There you go. I'd set the over-under at about 6,200.
You think that's a fair number?
I think that's a good number.
6,200. Can I think about it a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I did. I'll take the over.
All right.
Now,
here's my buck.
He's not very good at this game because the other night we went to the Area 51s game, and he set the over-under on total runs scored at 17.5.
Yikes.
And it flew over.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm betting you had good seats, though.
We were in the air conditioning with our our concierge, Jimmy Callahan.
Yeah. Jimmy's pretty plugged in this city, I guess you guys know.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I really like Jim.
Jim is our concierge. He's our staff concierge.
Does that mean you have to tip him?
Yeah, I've got a tip for him. But
Yeah. Jimmy and I go back a long ways, back to his Delaware days.
Yeah, Jimmy's a good dude.
Yeah.
So, Brad, what else do you have going on? Tell us about some of the other tournaments that
Well,
you're
there's
running.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on. This is a pretty busy time of year, and a couple things I wanted to talk to you about, Jeff. I'm sure you'll want to chime in too. Typically we'll get 30, 40, depending on what's going on, 30, 40 phone calls a day. We average maybe, so again, depending on what tournaments we're promoting, sometimes up to 100 emails a day, and they vary, all kinds of different things. The biggest question I'm getting these days is, are we bringing the high roller back in 2014? We, as you know, we took a year off. We took the February high roller and the July high roller off this year, and we called it a hiatus with the goal to bring it back in 2014 in February again, and I'm ready to make that announcement. I know I promised Alex Aguiar he would get first notice, but we have a lot of very loyal and good friends out there that are also very curious, as Alex is.
Well, if Alex is out there watching and listening,
Well, I hope he is.
Technically, he is one of the first ones.
No, I'm betting he's out practicing. You think he does that anymore?
I don't know. I'll actually see him in another week or so. I'm bowling with him in the
Proprietors
Cup.
Sure, I knew that. Yeah. Good.
We're bowling for Team Storm. It'll be our salesman, Steve Todd, Doan Mose.
Oh, Doan and Steve are going to bowl the Proprietors Cup?
They're bowling.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
The way the rules work out now is, since there are PBA regionals that weekend, you won't have any of the PBA staff there for different companies for that event.
Yeah.
So, since we're using basically our amateur staff, we'll have Steven and Doan bowling along with Alex, Rob Gottschall, and myself. So
Not a bad team.
Nope, I'll take that.
I'll put that lineup up against the Baltimore Orioles.
Who's gonna anchor that team? Gottschall?
I'm hoping Gottschall is.
Billy Isol put together a nice little program there. I wish him luck with that.
He did.
It's not easy, as he's finding out. It's not easy, but he's doing a good job.
I know they had some technical difficulties last year with some scoring issues and some things like that. But for the most part, everything went well last year.
Yeah.
It was a big event, a lot of people there. It was nice to see 50-some 5-person teams in the building going on at once. I mean, that's awesome to see. So.
And those scoring problems, obviously not a reflection on the event. They happen everywhere, including the Nationals this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think what happened was where our booth was for the InsideBowling.com, they had a dead pair right in front of the booth. And when they announced to everybody the skipping procedure of skipping so many pairs, some people skipped the dead pair, some people didn't. So we had people bowling going into game 2, people bowling on the wrong pair. And they didn't realize it until 3 or 4 frames in. Yeah. And by that time they basically had to start the game over to get everybody organized right. So it wasn't necessarily anything that they did wrong. It was just one of those fluke things that it's almost impossible for you to plan on unless you've been doing it for, in your case, 30 years. 32 years.
And of course, that won't happen this year because you live and learn. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Once something happens to you, I ran through the same issues when we had the Mary Tubner Memorial Team Challenge this year. We had a question come up about an injury, and somebody replaced a bowler because of injury. I didn't have anything in the rules about that. We had an issue come up with, we had some bracket issues, so we'll make sure that those are taken care of before this year. And most importantly, at 1:30 in the morning when we bowled our last qualifying game, we had a tie for last place.
Wow.
And I didn't have a contingency plan for a tie.
So you just wing it.
Yeah, we were going to do a 1 Baker game roll-off to see who made the last final spot, and the 2 teams actually voted they wanted to bowl a full game. So we got out of the bowling center at 3 o'clock in the morning. Long day, but
not the first
end,
time I'm betting.
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, it was the most fair for them.
Sure.
And that's what they wanted. So
it's the same for everybody. That's just growing pains, Jeff. That's all it is. It's you live and learn. The events get better each year.
Exactly.
You just brought something up that's on my list, on my agenda to talk about today, actually, when you mentioned changing pairs. And I'd love to get your spin on this. There's a bowler came up to me yesterday here at the TAT. I don't know him, never met him. Actually, we've emailed a few times. I've spoken to him. He had a lot of questions about the event. He's 190-something back home, bowling for a while, but not a tournament bowler. Never bowled tournaments outside of his local state association event, if I remember right. That's the only tournament he's ever bowled in his life. So he comes out here, and he's very excited. He's got his family with him. And they finished the first game, and he sees everybody on his pair picking up their equipment and walking right. And he never realized they're changing pairs here. So he gets me later, and he said, I get it now, but what do you do that for? I mean, why can't we just stay where we are? Why are we changing pairs? Very legitimate question. I mean, he's a very smart guy. He's just doesn't have the tournament experience that a lot of us have out here. So I try to give him my best answer, and it was in a couple parts, and I'm sure you'll be able to add to this. And of course, we all know that characteristics of the center changes in sections and even pair to pair. And if you, I explained to him, if you let somebody stay on the same pair, now it becomes a little more of a luck of the draw thing. If you catch a good pair, as opposed to somebody that catches a pair that maybe has some characteristics where they're not scoring as well as the other pair. Now you're at a disadvantage just because of the draw, because you're still matching your score against somebody 20 lanes away. And it's also a little more of a challenge thing. There's a lot of bowlers that when they move to a new pair can adjust in the first or second frame. They can throw a ball and know they have to make a ball change or move a board or two on the approach, and some can't as easily or as quickly and waste more frames. So it's a little more challenging, and he understood it. But it was just interesting to me that he didn't realize you change pairs in these events.
Hey guys, speaking of 20 pairs away, I'm about 20 pairs away right now, and a little bit out of microphone reach here, it sounds like. But scores are actually kind of going down on this end of the house from what I see. I'm down behind 39 and 40.
Well, we talked a little bit about that yesterday. Steve and I did, about characteristics of bowling centers. And when you walk in, a lot of times when you go to the same center year after year after year, you start to learn the nuances of each center, and you have an idea. For instance, at the Orleans, I know that maybe the first 16 lanes are tighter than the rest of the building. So if I'm down there, at least I have a basic understanding. The end pairs generally in most bowling centers play different than others. Mm-hmm. The pairs in front of the counter generally play different than others. So, it really depends on where you're at in the building as to what your scoring pace could be. And you're 100% right, Brad. That's why in events like this we do change pairs, is so that nobody has an unfair advantage, good or bad.
Sure.
Another thing that what is the skipping procedure for an event like this?
I believe they're skipping 10. Well, they change them based on the size of the squad.
Okay.
They try to get each bowler to bowl a game in a different section.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. They're not skipping a pair or two. They're skipping at least 4 pair.
From what I've seen, I think the skip procedures have been very, very good. When you have larger squads, they move more lanes.
Right.
Sure. Smaller squads, they still kind of keep it moving,
yeah.
and I like that. I will say, Brad, that I go to a lot of tournaments now. With this live streaming, I get to observe and see a lot of things. I don't think I've seen a tournament staff larger than yours and more on it than yours. I really believe that.
We have a very large staff. Probably, I'm not going to say it's overkill, because it's not. Everybody has their role and they know what it is, and of course they fill in other roles. Everybody here can do a little of everything if you need to. We like to have a large staff, a lot of go-to people. When you have crowds like this, and these days, we're going to have 350 to 400 contestants here this week. in today's standards, that's a lot of people. A lot of new faces. It means a lot of questions. I know there's people writing software for tournaments that can help you eliminate staff and make things maybe a little more productive.
Nothing replaces customer service.
It really doesn't. And as long as you have the right people on your staff, I love it. I remember in the old days, we'd have, at a high roller, we'd have 30 staff members. That was a given. And all of them very versed in the format and rules and what happens next. And, it's my first time, where do I go now? And, we're just trying to make their experience a little better. And you need staff members to do that. That's why Storm has so many people here, too.
Well, I was going to say, you must be a hell of a salesman because Storm brought, 8 people here?
Is it 8? I thought it was more than that. Yeah, 8 sounds right.
It actually probably is more than that when you get everybody involved.
You have a list there, yeah. Yeah.
Nine actually, if you want to count Chadwick.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not all here at the same time. They have shifts that they work, but you look up and down the list. They're all nationally known names too, and all very familiar with what we're doing here, which is great for me. And of course, I tell Corbett that when I talk to Roger, back home, Roger and I email 3 or 4 times an hour all year round. And
so that's why it's so hard to get Roger's attention.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And it's my fault. I always initiate it, but Roger will pick up his cell phone, when he's out at lunch. So he's very accessible. But I tell him, do me a favor. I know pretty much who you're sending to work with us. But tell me so I can send them a brochure. Let them get a little familiar with the event.
That was actually the very first thing I did when I got up here Monday morning was I went and got the entry blanks to start reading, just to familiarize myself a little bit more with what this event was, because I bowled a few of the megabucks back in the late 80s, but I haven't really been around this side of the sport much in the last decade plus. So it's nice and refreshing for me to see something outside of the norm from what I'm normally seeing. So.
And this is different. This is a different. When you talk, I don't. You can call this a megabuck. The word megabuck is different things to different people. To the people like yourself that were around in the 80s and 90s, this is hardly megabuck. There's a lot of people here where 20,000. It's an amazing prize to win. We used to pay that daily, back in the old days. But you have to deal with what you have.
Right.
This is current. This is what the industry is going through right now, and we're just happy to be able to bring these types of events to the kids coming up, and even bowlers that are a little older but never might have heard about the old days but never experienced them.
Speaking of some of the other events, tell me a little bit about what is one of my favorite events that you run, and that's the military tournament.
Yeah, just tremendous events, and when we speak of the of our military events, there's a lot of times we don't even put the word bowling in there, and that's just out of really respect for the thousands of participants who are there, really for the camaraderie and the companionship, and it's reunion atmosphere. They see their friends once a year, and they'll run into somebody they haven't seen in 30 years since they served with them in Germany or Japan, or bowled inter-service competition with them. And
I've been around that event for I think 3 times, and I've never seen a turnout of not only of just the bowlers but their families and the support.
Sure.
And the bowling center is just absolutely jam-packed full of people for that event, and we were only there for one night. I can imagine how full it is for the entire event. But
well, there's 210 players. It'll sell out again this year, I'm fairly sure. It's sold out the last 5 years, and that means 210 players each squad, and that's a different 210 players. There's no re-entries, and it's a lot of fun. You have to see Randy Peterson's face, because the 8 a.m. squad will be finishing, which means 210 players are coming off, and you have another 210 behind ready to go on, and there's Randy right in the middle trying to say hello to everybody.
Exactly, and he does it.
Yes, he does. He absolutely does. Randy's our master of ceremonies during the week.
I've been pretty fortunate the last couple of years that I've been able to work our Storm and I'm drawing a blank now, Michael. With the troops.
The Wounded Warrior.
The Wounded
program?
Warrior
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, definitely the one that Cynic is involved with.
Yeah.
That just happened.
2 years ago, we were at Fort Meade in the Baltimore area, and got to go on the base and spend a couple of days with a lot of the military personnel, the Wounded Warriors. Had a great time. That event, we had a lot of their family were there. Just had an absolute blast with them. And then this year, we actually did it at Bethesda National. And the highlight of my day was the last shift that we did. I did that event with Liz Johnson. The last shift, I spent about a half hour talking to 6 Navy SEALs. One of them was their commander, and he was retiring. And that's a huge highlight for me. I mean, literally for the entire conversation I had, the hair was standing up on my arms, and I had chills, because it was kind of funny in a way, because they were telling stories, but we can't tell you this part. This is still top secret, classified, so we can kind of give you an idea of what was going on, but we can't tell you the whole thing.
They're tremendous people.
They really are, and that was that was always kind of cool when I was on tour and we would get asked to go to the military tournament that you have and do our autograph sessions and hang out with them and mingle with them for the night. That was always a blast. I always was the first one to say, yes, sign me up, I'm going.
It's great to be around those people. I'll give you a little quick story just to tell you how little the actual bowling competition means to so many of them. This is the 57th annual event. It started back at Nellis Air Force Base in the 50s. And there's this one fellow that never misses one, and he claims to have been at every one except for 3 he missed when he was overseas. But and I believe him. His friends say it's all true. So he bowled the very first one at Nellis Air Force Base when they were at 12 lanes, and he won the all events, the individual all events, and his prize was a bowling ball. He still uses that ball every year. He could care less how many pins he knocks down.
That's awesome.
He uses that ball and only that ball every year. And we put it on display up at the counter when he's not using it.
That's very cool.
During competition.
Now, looking at high-roller.com, your website for your events, I see an event that I haven't seen before, and that is the law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders on the lanes.
Yep,
event.
That's coming up this December. Looking forward to that. That's right here, by the way, in Las Vegas at Orleans. It's we tried to get it off the ground last year, and we didn't go about it the right way because it is a new market, if you want to use that term for us. And so what we've done is we're trying to duplicate the same format that we use in the military for these first responders and give them an event and give them the type of excitement and Las Vegas experience that we see these military players just absolutely love every year. So that's what we're doing. We put this together, and anybody that fits it, and there is, by the way, an official, if you go online under first responders, you'll see a list of 30 or 40 categories that's considered an official first responder. It's not necessarily somebody that arrives at a fire or at an accident or at a shooting. It's policemen and firemen make up the majority of it, but it's EMTs and people that even work in the background for those companies. And, of course, active or retired are welcome to bowl. And we're looking forward to it. Got a nice response so far.
Well, it's very refreshing to see events out there for other people to bowl. You know, we talked a little bit earlier this morning on the broadcast that, it's nice for an event like this because it's outside of the norm. It's not just the professionals or the so-called professional amateurs that are around the country, but this event is for the average bowler.
Yep.
And then you have the military event, and you have the first responders event. IGBO has their own organization.
Right.
So we have, and then you have the several other organizations throughout the country that specifically apply to their groups.
Yeah, sure.
So it's nice to see that bowling is so diverse, and there are things out there for everybody to bowl. And you don't necessarily have to be a scratch bowler or a professional
hardly
to come out and bowl for some prize money and,
Sure.
and in a big event. So
Well, that's the difference with this one. There is some prize money also. I mean, there's a ton of law enforcement events and firefighter events throughout the states. And as a matter of fact, we sponsor many of the state tournaments. But they're mostly medals. And, again, the camaraderie and they're league bowlers. You know, they're mostly league bowlers. There's very few people that are going to come out to this thing that don't bowl in a league. They're going to come out just for the experience, although we will get some. But there's some prize money. I guess that if I had to name the largest difference between this one and the other ones that go around the country is the prize money. You guys know Danny Innocenzo probably.
Yes.
Danny's a firefighter by trade, and he goes around to most of these events, and he'll be going to Ireland. Or maybe he did. I forget the date of that. It might have happened last month. I'll have to find out from Danny. But he went to Ireland for the World Police and Firefighters Games. And again, medals. You know, I mean, there is some bracket action. I'm not going to lie to you. But mostly medals. And Danny's just happy to be there.
that's awesome. That's it's always nice whenever you can, yeah, you're right. The prize money's nice, but there's also a pride factor that comes along with that. And anytime you can bowl for something that revolves around the military or your job as a firefighter or a police officer or even anything that involves bowling for your country.
Sure.
At that point, the money becomes secondary, and the fact that you're doing something you love to do for a great, I don't even know if you want to call it a great cause as much as it is for a great reason. That just makes everything more worthwhile.
They really enjoy being there. And, I will go on record as saying, and I'm sure you know this, there are some great active duty bowlers out there.
Oh, yeah.
We get some very strong teams.
It's amazing, traveling across the country doing some of the events that we do. You mentioned, great bowlers in, the military or great bowlers, that are firefighters or whatever. And then we mix in, we've got an awful lot of great athletes that are good bowlers as well.
Absolutely.
I was pretty fortunate to get to know Jerome Bettis a little bit, and Jerome's a very accomplished bowler. John Burkett, who used to pitch in the major leagues, John's a tremendous bowler.
John bowled in the high roller.
Got to know him pretty well.
I got his autograph when he lost his first round match.
And now Terrell Owens, who is becoming more and more involved with the PBA. And the amount of time and effort he's put into bowling, it's kind of nice to see that in every aspect of life now, we're starting to see more and more people bowling and even take it more seriously. So even though USBC league bowler numbers may be a little bit on the decline, I don't necessarily think bowling in general is on the decline. I actually think it's starting to go back on the uptick. So
well, it's still the largest participating sport in the world. Hey, you want to hear my favorite sports/bowling story? This is my favorite. I love to tell this. I mean, you were talking about sports figures that can also bowl.
I'm looking forward to this one.
This is my favorite. This is absolutely my favorite. Mitch Williams, the Wild Thing. Threw that home run pitch to Joe Carter to beat my Phillies.
Which is actually my dad's name, so
is it really?
I tease him about that all the time.
Well, he should be. He deserves to be teased.
My dad is Joe Carter, so he's the one that hit the game-winning home run. And my mom is Linda Carter, and she's Wonder Woman.
Yeah, there you go. Celebrities in your family.
Exactly.
Well, Mitch Williams retired from the Phillies, probably 2 years too late, but he did retire at some point. And Mitch did a little bit of bowling back in those days. But he stuck around the Philly area, and he ended up marrying Rocky Iacone's daughter, Rocky, the proprietor of Maple Lanes in Pensacola, New Jersey. So Mitch started hanging around Maple Lanes a lot and did more and more bowling, and actually got pretty good. He wasn't bad. So the infamous, although he's passed on, Jack Winters, who was USBC Hall of Famer, so well known in most of the East Coast circles at least. He was a character. He had the kind of sense of humor that you either loved him or hated him, but he had a sense of humor. So anyway, he used to bowl there too, and saw Mitch bowl and said, "Mitch, we're going to Nationals. Why don't you come with us this year?" And Mitch was very honored. Said, "Sure, I'd love to." So they go to the Nationals. I forget where it was. that year. Had to be in the mid-90s, I guess. And Mitch bowled very, very poorly. He stunk up the joint. So they're finished bowling and they're changing their shoes. And Jack says to him, Mitch, now we know 2 sports you can't throw a strike. That's my favorite.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nicely played.
That was good.
I like that.
That was
Old
Jack
Mitch
Williams.
Williams.
Yep. Actually can play. Did bowl in a lot of regionals back east. Hey, let me get back to Alex Aguiar.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we didn't really get into the announcement here per se.
Yeah.
But what do you got for us? What's going on with the high roller?
Well, I do need to answer the people. As I mentioned, a lot of loyal, good friends that we've met over the years and have come out and supported us. And you know what? They look forward to these events. There's a lot of camaraderie there, too. Let me tell you, a lot of prize money. There's always been a lot of money to be won. But this is also the kind of event where they see a lot of their friends once or twice a year. And when we took this hiatus, we took this year off, I promised them that the goal was to come back in 2014. And that's still the goal. However, it won't be in February like I was hoping. So this coming February 2014, we'll still have the TAT tournament here. I don't want to get the wrong message out there. But there will not be the high roller in 2014, the high roller per se, in February of 2014. I will say we have 2 other dates that we're looking at. And I'm fairly sure we will have a high roller in 2014. So stay tuned and stay in touch with me, and a lot of people do. And we'll get the word out there, and you'll hear something shortly about that.
Well, that's good news.
Well, it is. My dad rolled over in his grave, when I officially announced that for the first time in 31 years there wouldn't be a July high roller. And got to get it back there.
Is sponsor money the main thing that is kind of the hang up of getting that back going? Is that what's
Jeff, it's really not. And I'll explain that. Sponsor money is always great, and we get very little that we add from sponsor fees. They pretty much, in the amateur ranks, pretty much bowl for their own money, with the exception of, and I'm proud to say it, I'm also feel silly sometimes saying it, but our purses are always larger than the entry fees we collected, because High Roller Inc. always adds money to the purse, always. There hasn't been a tournament we didn't add money to. It just got to the point we're adding a little bit too much money. I got to rethink this. And that's when we took this hiatus. And I never minded. I never kicked about it. High roller events have been very, very good to us. And I think vice versa. I think we've been very good to the industry and the bowling centers, the host events. And a lot of people have done very well in bowling, and we've got a lot of people. We've turned a lot of contestants onto their professional career, and blah blah blah. We can go all through that, but
I've always thought, and I still do, that the entire bowling industry needs each other. We need the professional ranks, we need the high rollers, we need the USBC as the governing body and their open championships. We need the BPAA to be stronger than ever and help promote the other aspects of it. We need IPSIA, we need Strike 10, we need the youth organizations. Everybody, at some point in time,
you need
everybody
Junior Gold
needs
and
to
Team
get
Masters.
on. Right, exactly, and Team Masters going on right now.
Yeah.
We need everybody in the industry at some point to say, you know what, there is a greater good out there. There is a sport that we all need to kind of band together and take care of first, and not necessarily put our own personal agendas to the side, but maybe split our focus. Maybe say, if the PBA, for instance, maybe they need to focus a little bit more on how do we help out the rest of the industry as much as they're helping themselves. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the proprietors in the USBC. I think everybody has to at some point work together in order to turn the sport around, because right now you've got, let's just say that there's 10 different organizations out there or 10 different entities and everybody has their own agenda. Nobody's working together. So right
Yeah.
now it's kind of a free-for-all. So
Well, it is. You know, back in the late 90s, Mark Gerbrich and I put together an event that we thought we could bring PBA and the top amateurs together. And it never materialized. We ended up canceling it mid promotion, which I always hate to do, but it just didn't have a future. There was no reason to run it for the few bowlers that were committed to come out. And it was really then that we realized that, just like you say, all the factions have to work together. That doesn't mean they have to bowl together, but they do have to work together. So we did start pushing, for lack of a better word, maybe promoting. Mark and I realized that, well, instead of trying to have an event to bring Earl Anthony together with Rudy Kazamakis, who was an amateur back then, let's try to spread the PBA word. Let's just try to advertise them. Let's advertise where their regionals are. Let's show our amateurs what their rules are. Let's not hide the fact we're not enemies. You know, it might be a little bit of apples and oranges in there as far as competition. I mean, those days the PBA slogan was the best bowlers in the world.
right.
And guess what? They probably still are. I mean, there's a lot of good amateurs, but overall, you know, if you take top 40 PBA members and top 40 amateurs, that would be interesting. It would be very interesting. But back then, it wasn't as interesting. The PBA had the best bowlers in the world, and the amateurs were a little reluctant to bowl with them in numbers. I'm talking about we're trying to get 400 or 500
Right.
people. That just wasn't going to happen. But there's nothing that said, you know, to the amateur players, like Mark and I realized, hey, here's a brochure. There's a regional 40 miles from you in a couple weeks. You know, go play. See how you do against the PBA members. And by the same token, Mark said, well, in some of your events, we'll let certain PBA members bowl. And I said, Mark, you know, I'm happy to have some of the regional players. I think back then he called them resident
Right.
players was
they
the
had
term.
regional and resident.
And regional
pros back
and
then.
resident pros. I said, Mark, I can't let Earl Anthony come out. You know, he's just going to hurt my efforts here. You know, people come out to see him, but they won't come out to bowl against him. But
Unless you were to run some sort of a pro-am type of event to where people could actually,
Which
and
we
he's not
did.
in the main event.
right, and we did that too. Earl, by the way, did 5 or 6 of our TV shows as play-by-play.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I remember
back
that.
in the day. Well, we had a lot of fun with Earl. Had a lot of
Earl
fun
was
with
really good at that job. He really was. I remember.
Well, he enjoyed it.
Steve and I talked yesterday about the World Team Challenges, and Earl did those. And even the short time the PBA was on NBC, where Earl did that with Jay Randolph, and you know, it was always kind of neat to see Earl on TV. I thought he had a good feel for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did. He had a ball doing it too. Of course, he loved Las Vegas.
Yes, he did.
Hey, Brad, I was going to say, you know, you were talking about promoting everybody else's stuff and working together and, you know, getting a good feel for this event here. You know, obviously I'm moving to Utah,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have the West Coast appeal that I have in the Midwest, but I'm looking to gain that. And, you know, that model that we built in St. Louis for the IB Open, it's very heavily on my radar to want to do an IB Open, a West version of it.
Sure, absolutely. You
You know,
get a totally different
And I think this is the correct town to do it in. And being 6 hours away via vehicle, I'd like to seriously sit down and talk to you about maybe partnering on that exact format on a weekend out here in Vegas, where you know, we come together on this thing, and at that event, obviously we promote all your events that you have going on throughout the year, but we do a co-op. Anytime you co-op with people, you know, there's a tournament back home in St. Louis called the Holiday Doubles, and this tournament, you know, had 40 teams, 50 teams, you know, and then as soon as I got involved with it, and I worked with a great guy, Jerry Anderson, who, you know, he's a great guy just like you. I put you guys in the same mix. We were able to do some great things and sell that thing out. You know, we sold out 4 squads. I think we had 100 and...
Well, 4 times 24.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I mean, it was
That's
insane. And
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
we should do that. We
Yeah,
really should.
yeah.
And
There you go, folks. You heard it
Yeah.
here first. That in the future, you may see a high roller / IB Open here in Vegas.
As long as high rollers before IBO.
Hey, whatever you want to do.
Is Billy O'Neill eligible?
He bowled
Well,
last year.
he won.
you and I would have to discuss that, but in the events that I run, I let anybody enter that wants to enter, and it's just the way it is, and who knows? Maybe we could try something like that out here, and
absolutely.
And we'd get the PJ Haggertys of the world to drive in, and
he would be here. PJ would be here. Billy O'Neill, by the way, former high roller champ. Not in Las Vegas, but a high roller champ. Yeah, I'd love to do that, Mike. I'd love to talk to you about it. There's plenty of room for new events, believe it or not. People get a little gun shy because they see numbers dwindling in other events. But there's as long as we're not shooting for the moon, and as long as it's a sensible date for a lot of bowlers, and of course the venue will be great.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we couldn't get 300 bowlers pretty easily out here on the West Coast for something like that. Obviously, in my position at Storm, I'm sure that we could sponsor the event, just like the one we did, in St. Louis. But eventually, I'd like to have 4 or 5 of these IB Opens throughout the United States.
Around the country.
I just don't have the time to organize all of them. That's why partnering with people and working them together makes so much sense.
I don't know if you're too young to remember this or not, but back in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, we took the high roller around the country. We called them high roller 300s because the entry fee was $300. It was the same format as the Las Vegas high roller, just regional. And we did maybe 10 of them, and some were good, some were not so good, and eventually they faded. We did, I'm going to say maybe a dozen of them in New Jersey. And I still, to this day, people still say, why don't you do some regional events? So, yeah, sure, let's do it.
I think that makes a lot of sense, and it's not like we do it to get rich. It's just to keep this thing going and try not to lose money doing them.
Yeah. Well, you won't get rich doing them.
No, you can't.
No, you really can't. And
we got to probably be the 2 dumbest guys in the building.
Well, I'll tell you what.
You know what we should do? We need to go find some other hot commodity like MMA or UFC. And we should start our own underground UFCs, and then we could stream that and charge admission, and we'd fill the place up.
Valet parking.
The whole bit. Yeah, we'd be cut in on every aspect of that.
I'm in.
But instead, here we are. We're in a bowling center.
Can you imagine that? 10 hours a day.
Could you imagine? We could, it'd be like, welcome everyone to the UFC 12. Mike Flanagan, Brad Edelman here, and we're here with King Kong Bundy.
and first match is Alex Aguilar and Ed Roberts.
There you go.
Center ring. I'll take Ed Roberts.
And our Intercontinental Championship match tonight, it'll be Jason Belmonte against Sean Rash.
That's right.
And for the
that'd be great for pari-mutuel betting.
Oh yeah, and then and we could run the online site and legalize it all through Las Vegas, and we could get a rake on all that.
That's the other thing. We'll organize the pari-mutuel betting.
That's right.
We establish the odds. Yeah.
And who would the title match be? Maybe we could have. Let's see.
Well, there's a lot of big, strong guys out there.
Maybe a good final match would be maybe Chris Schlimmer.
Oh.
And who would be another big guy that Schlimmer could take on?
Well, he's a right-hander. You want to get a left-hander? Does that matter in that sport? I don't think it does in that sport.
I stepped away for a minute. What are we talking about?
Oh, you didn't hear about our new MMA tournament we're going to run next year.
Yeah. We're going to get our own ring and everything. We're going to stream it. We're going to have valet parking.
Yeah.
That was what Brad wanted to negotiate. We went ahead and we did that.
I'm going to vote for Chris Warren. Don't underestimate the little scrappy dude.
Yeah. Well, we'll have it by division.
Okay.
Yeah,
weight class.
Yeah.
What about Chris Warren versus Norm Duke for the lightweight?
I'd take Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is a fiery little dude.
Yeah, but what about Mike had a good one for center ring. That would be Sean Rash and Jason Belmonte. So.
Yeah, that whole deal kind of blew up a little bit. I know that. I'm good friends with Jason, and Sean and I roomed together for 4 years, so that was a little disappointing to see how that thing kind of blew up. But It is what it is.
And Belmo, no, I have to say it, another high roller champ.
Yep.
Can you name all 7, Jeff?
No, I can't.
That have won a high roller in Las Vegas? No, not necessarily in Las Vegas. They won a high roller title and a PBA national title. There's 7 of them.
I sure can't.
It's a tough one.
Wait a minute.
It's
Give me
a
this.
tough
Give me this trivia question.
Okay.
What is it again?
There are 7 players that have won a high roller title and a PBA national title.
7 of them.
7.
Well, you've given away 2 of them, Belmonte and O'Neill.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So I have been paying attention.
I'll give you a hint on one of them. It might be the hardest one.
Is Bob Belmont one of them?
No.
All right.
Belmont never won a PBA national. He made some couple shows. Yeah.
Okay.
One of them just joined Storm's staff last
Fagan?
month. Fagan, yeah. He won a high roller back in New Jersey.
So you got Fagan, O'Neill, Belmonte.
Yep.
What about like Lonnie Wallachek?
Close. He made a show, one of our shows. Never won a title.
What about somebody like Jason Queen?
No. Nope.
Jason, one of my teammates.
Yep.
He's on my USBC team and my my tournament team that we bowl with all the time. So.
No, it wasn't Jason. Want another hint for another one? Or are you still working on it? You want to?
Well, I should really think about this.
There's some hard ones in there. There's some hard ones. I think Fagan was the hardest one, only because it was in New Jersey. It wasn't here in Vegas.
Chris Barnes.
No, it wasn't Chris Barnes. You know, Chris Barnes, as well as he did in the Megabucks circuit, never really had a good match play record.
What about Brad Angelo?
No, Brad never won.
How about Krutzer?
Nope. Well, Krutzer won a mini eliminator,
That's
but
right.
didn't win a high roller.
I knew he won a mini.
Yeah. But everybody you're naming did spectacularly in Megabuck events. Barnes, Krutzer, Brad
Now
Angelo.
Brian Bogosian won the Masters. Did he ever win a high roller?
No, never won a high roller. You know,
There's somebody that could play.
Brian's a great bowler.
Brian was awesome bowler.
He was one of the original straighter guys
Yeah, exactly.
that really did well out here in Vegas. You know, not many could. John Gaines was, in those days, not as straight as Brian, but he didn't cover the boards like Newman or Rudy or any of those guys like the.
You know, it was
see the
kind of
ball hook.
interesting, you know, years ago watching some of the younger guys back then that became standouts on tour. You know, not many people remember Mike Wolf used to hook it a lot back then.
Yeah.
And
Mike did well out here.
He got his game a lot straighter once he went out on tour and learned how to become more versatile. But yeah, he used to hook it a lot when he was out here.
Yeah. You know, back to Chris Barnes for a second. Did very well. I used to tell him, and he used to get mad at me. I said, Chris, you actually learned to bowl out in the high roller. He didn't like to hear that, but he did. You know, this is where you learned about ball changes because you had to do it in one frame. You know, out here because you're bowling. You put $1,100 down the ball for 20 minutes.
And it's where you learn how to bowl matches.
Yeah, you really did. And we had that one high roller where we paid out $2 million in 6 days. The actual disbursement topped $2 million. And in that event, you know, we had sweepers each night, and Chris Barnes won one of them on Tuesday or Wednesday night, whatever it was. It was worth $25,000. This is a 2-gamer. I mean, he only bowled an hour and 10 minutes, and he won $25,000. Came back the next night. Jeff, honest to God, this is legendary. Drew the same pair and won that one for $30,000. They got larger as the week went on. So he won between the side action and the side pots. He won about $60,000 in less than 3 hours in those 2 nights. And these sweepers were mostly prior to the start of the main event. So now here comes the main event, and it's the first round, and Chris shot 190 and lost. So he's won the $60,000 for the week, but of course he wanted to stick around a couple days later, obviously. But he actually came to me, and Chris will remember this, and we had our words. He actually moaned and groaned to me and accused me of changing the pattern. I mean, not yelling. I shouldn't say yelling. But had some words that day. He said, Chris, even if we did, you're one of the best out there. Adapt. You would see it in practice. You got 15 minutes of practice.
I got another guess for you.
Go ahead.
Patrick Allen.
No. But I do have a Patrick Allen story. If you want. Any of you guys remember the kidlets, by the way?
No.
You ever hear that term? The kidlets was started. It was a group of bowlers that used to travel together as teenagers, and they were the premier teams back in those days. And
Would that be Lichstein? Okay.
Lichstein started. Mike Lichstein started the kidlets with Patrick Allen and Chris Vialli.
Yep.
And Chris Rebstock and Chris Soule.
Oh, I forgot about Rebstock.
Yeah. Chris was a great bowler. And I hate to.
Was Ginsburg part of that group too?
He might have been.
On?
Yeah, he might have been. And I'm remiss because there's a lot of great people out there that I'm not mentioning names. I think they refused Rudy membership.
Rudy was probably a little bit too old for that group.
Yeah, he might have been.
Time.
Paul. Oh boy, I hate to not be able to come up with these names, but this goes back early '90s maybe. The kidlets. Anyway, so and obviously they started traveling further and further away from their New England start where they all started up there in Connecticut. And we used to start seeing them down in New Jersey at our events, and Mike Lichstein and Patrick and Vialli and Soule, they were more prominent. They were all good bowlers and ended up bowling everywhere they could, and they started coming out here to the Megabucks and did very well. Chris made a show. Chris Vialli made one of our shows. Didn't win. But back in those days, and you'll remember this, you used to put up $20 in the sweeper for the side pots, and you win one game, you might have won $5,000.
Yeah.
Well, PA, for some reason I'll never know, just didn't put up $20 one night, and of course,
he gets it. Right.
Would have won a side pot. It cost him $7,000. Not putting up. That's my PA story.
Yeah, I've seen that happen many times.
Constantly.
I even a lot of the events that I run, I always ask people. I says, why wouldn't you get in the game pot?
Yeah.
In most cases, it's minimal amount of money, and all you got to do is hit one game out of however many that you're bowling.
Well, that's what we were talking about with Louie the other day. That's what Louie was on the way to winning.
Right.
He might have won $10,000 just that inside action, not even including whatever he got in the purse.
Well, that's what we keep talking about every time we're on about Buddy's mystery pot.
Yeah.
Here you go. It's up over $1,000.
Yeah.
And you just happen to get the right. You could win with 160.
It's happened.
And it's just the luck of the draw, and all of a sudden, boom, there you go.
And some guys are luckier than others. Dave Pirashad won it for the fourth time. If anybody asked me if that could happen, I would have said no.
Yeah.
I would have been wrong again.
He's won 4 of them?
4 of them. 4 times. Not this week. Over the course of the TAT tournaments. He's won that 4 times. Dave made a show. Made one of our shows. Finished third, won $25,000. Any more guesses, Mike? It's hard.
I'm going to bring it into the booth here because
well, Coach K chimed in with Pat Healy.
No. Pat never won a high roller.
He was talking about he won $62,000 and lost his first match one year. So.
Yeah, that happens. Jim Callahan's not eligible for this trivia contest because we've
why don't you go ahead and give us the rest of them because competition is finishing up here.
Okay.
And then we'll come back in a while and we'll have you back in. But what do we got?
Well, Rhino was the most recent.
Oh, Rhino Page.
Rhino, yeah, he won the year before he went out on tour.
I should have known that.
David Ozio's the tough one.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow, I never
Ozio,
would have guessed that.
He won our Super Bowl high roller, and so did Kent Wagner. Are we counting? How many is that?
Sure. Yeah.
Is that how many do we got?
I think we're at 5.
Uh-oh. Jeez, I'm on the spot. That's only 5? No, Fagan,
O'Neill,
Belmonte, Rhino.
Yep, Rhino.
Ozio and Wagner 6.
Ozio and Wagner.
Oh, one more. We're missing one more. There are 7. Wow. Think any of your viewers might?
They've been trying.
Yeah, they've been guessing.
I've seen Robert Smith come in.
Robert made a show when he was 17 years old. He made a show. The same show Kloempken left that ring in 810.
Ring in 810.
Ring in 8, and it was because off his hand it looked a lot better than the results. I'll tell you.
Hey, Coach K, you need these to carry the 810, buddy. And I know you're watching right now.
Coach K, Been around with us a long time.
Well, Brad, we'll let you think about that other one.
Yeah,
but,
I'm going to have to. There is a 7th, I promise you.
I'm going to go grab some lunch with my girl real quick.
Okay.
And come back in, and we'll keep the stream running, and we got another squad coming up here.
Yeah.
Jeff, I don't know if you want to go to lunch with us or not. Or
Yeah, I'll
if you
probably
wanna-
run down and grab something to eat.
So we'll probably come on with a little no commentary, just some lanes going, and we'll come back in. It's a late day today because we've got the
Storm
Challenge
Challenge
tonight.
finals. Yeah, Bill C's supposed to make an appearance tonight. Bill Chrisman. So
Well, that'll be fun.
yeah, I hope he does. We should get him into the booth. He's got some stories. Bill bowled a high roller in the early days,
Oh yeah,
and his dad.
nice.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Well, thanks, guys. This was fun.
Thank you so much, Brad. We'll be back with more coverage here from the 2013 TAT Summer Classic. Thursday qualifying resumes here in a little bit. We'll take you out to the lanes, and Jeff Carter and myself will be back. Brad will be back later as well, tell some more great high roller stories.